there, my little cute caterpillars. Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be addressing whether or not I think it's necessary to go to makeup school in order to pursue a career in makeup, and give some advice as well. I have such a tiny amount of time to film, but I'm keeping up my streak, so I'm just gonna just send it all out to you. All right, so this is a question I get asked a ton, which is understandable. Makeup is a job that is becoming more visible. It obviously looks like a fun job, and there are so many different ways to go about beginning your career. Because I like to cut to the chase just as quickly as possible, I'm gonna give you guys a spoiler. I don't think it's necessary to go to makeup school. I did go to makeup school, and I'm going to give you kind of the reasons why I think that and what my experience was. So first of all, unlike being a hairstylist or an esthetician, there is no government enforced, at least in the United States, certification for makeup artistry. So there's no legal requirement for you to go through any type of program and meet any kind of standards in order to call yourself a makeup artist. That doesn't mean that you should necessarily call yourself a makeup artist. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it just means that you don't have to go to makeup school in order to be a makeup artist. So the reason why I don't typically tell people to go to makeup school is it's not that makeup schools are bad or that they're not going to teach you, it's that they're really expensive and ultimately unnecessary. I went to makeup school, I went to makeup designery, and I think it's a good school. They taught me well, the instructors were amazing, I'm still in touch with some of them. It was the only way that I knew how to get started, so that's what I did, but it was really expensive. And I have several friends that I went through school with 10 years ago and that are happy working makeup artists. So it's not that the programs are bad, it's just that there are other ways to go about it that don't involve so much student loan debt. I remember going to school and thinking to myself, I could be buying an iPod. This was when people bought iPods every single day instead of going to class all day. So what I'm trying to say is stay out of school, buy an iPod every day. The end. Wisdom. No, but anyway, the thing to keep in mind also about makeup schools is they're new. It's not like the makeup artists that most of the makeup artists that you really look up to who have kind of paved the way in these various industries, they didn't go to makeup school. A lot of them went to art school or studied different things or didn't go to school. So what I want you to understand is there's really no precedent for it. And as I've worked and found the various ways that you can do it, potentially even better and, for free or even getting paid, then I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys because I have so many people asking me if they should go to makeup school, what makeup school they should go to. So I just wanted to lay it out there for any aspiring mois. So one of the big things before I get into the kind of more practical advice is that this job, whatever direction you take it, because there are many directions, it requires you to be extremely self-motivated. And so do the education workarounds that I'm going to talk about, like alternatives to school. And if you're somebody who feels like you need to go to school and have the schedule and the requirements made of you in order to get the education, and you can't be self-motivated about teaching yourself makeup, I would, how do I say this nicely, evaluate whether or not this is a good career path for you, just because there are staff positions and there are things you can do, but for the most part, it's very much a freelance position. And that means like you need to be the one kicking your own butt. So if you feel like you can't even do that for school, then I would wish you a lot of luck on doing it for the work part. Okay, so there are kind of two facets to school alternative makeup education and career beginnings. The first one is your actual education, teaching yourself or being taught through different resources the skills that you need to apply makeup to different humans. And for this, there has literally never been a better time. There are so many great places on the internet and even in your community that you can learn a lot of really helpful stuff. So for one thing, if you really want to take classes in a school setting, I would rather, let me tell you how to live your life. I would rather you either do an aesthetics program, like become a certified esthetician, which is not going to teach you a lot about makeup artistry, but it will teach you about sanitation and about skin, which is really important and can be a nice tool in your personal kit when it comes to dealing with actors and their skin problems and stuff like that. I didn't do that, but it's something that I went, that would have been smart. Also, a lot of community colleges offer those programs, so you can do it really affordably. Speaking of community colleges or adult education courses or anything like that, the other thing I would recommend is taking actual art classes, concept and design, painting, anything like that, to really strengthen those color theory, eyeball, highlight and shadow muscles, because that is going to be so helpful to you. When it comes to honing your artistry, YouTube really is a great resource, and I'm going to put in the description box of this video a few people I recommend, books, courses, things like that, just to kind of point you in the right direction. There are a lot of great channels out there. Lisa Eldridge has a channel, guys. Like, watch those videos, practice on your friends. That's going to be really educational for you. Rae Morris has a lot of really amazing books. I have a book. This wasn't supposed to be a plug, but I do have a book. So yeah, reading books, looking on helpful YouTube channels, taking art classes, and just practicing as much as you can on your friends. I can't tell you how many of my friends I was like, hey, come over tomorrow. I'm just gonna just peck you like a chicken with makeup brushes for beauty. So the first aspect was really the artistic education portion, and then this next one is the opportunity education portion. And what I mean by that is really assisting. A little bit more than that, but what I mean is times when you can take a work opportunity that is also an educational opportunity, and that's huge. So in order to get there, you need to do some of that first part on your own, obviously, because especially if you're going to be assisting an artist, they're going to expect you to have a kit and have a baseline. But once you're ready, it is invaluable. I cannot stress this enough. I am eternally indebted to the artists that I have assisted. I still like to assist. If there's an artist that I really love, one of my favorite things is collaborating with other makeup artists, finding out what they do, what products they use. It can be a really fulfilling experience, and also you're never beyond learning more about your craft. I also just wanted to give you guys a couple quick tips on how to get assisting work, and also how to have people not hate you if you assist them. So first of all, one of the nice things about the beginning of your career is getting to play and find out which parts of makeup you really like. So once you do that, you can start to focus in more on one thing. But initially, you can sort of dip your toes around and see. So I'm going to kind of just break it down into two things, even though there are more, just for the sake of this video, into like film, television, special effects, and beauty type of world, and then more like fashion, editorial, print world. The reason I'm breaking it down like that is because there's one really big difference when it comes to your contacting artists to assist approach, which is that film makeup artists tend to be represented by the union, and it has nothing to do with how to contact them, but they don't typically have agents. And then fashion and all of that, most of the big artists that you would maybe know who they are or be admiring their work are represented by an agency, and one of the best ways to get in contact with them is through their agent. So a big part of this is being a little bit of a stalker in a nice way. And I recommend for film and television, just kind of creeping around on IMDb, seeing who's doing the makeup on the shows that you like, on the movies that you like, and being like kind of relentless but polite. Like, don't harass one person over and over again unless you feel like there's a vibe going and it's okay. But just like finding people's emails on their websites, you have to do some stalkery investigation for sure in order to get through to people sometimes. But IMDb is a really good way to kind of see who artists are, and then you can always Google them and see if there's a way to get in contact with them. And then when it comes to fashion, you can look up editorials. I'm going to put some more resources in the description box of, there's some websites where you can see like for certain campaigns who worked on them. You can look up those people, and then you can see who their agent is. Also, obviously a huge thing now is social media. When I was doing this, like, people didn't have Instagram. So now that is another way that a lot of artists have Instagrams. You can DM them, unless it specifically says in their bio not to, and to contact their agent. Don't already ignore something somebody said if they've put that that's their preferred method of communication. Make sure you honor that. But on that note, a lot of makeup artists will write who their agent is or what their agency is in their bio. So you can reach out to them, and you can, for either thing, film or fashion, I recommend, whether you're reaching out to the artist directly or to their agent, just being short, concise, and letting them know that you're interested in assisting them, what your schedule is, and just kind of keep it open. A lot of agencies make assistant lists. So if you have a resume already, which probably you should be already having some things to put on a piece of paper if you're reaching out to people like this, then they'll kind of attach your resume and who you are, and then they might reach out to you when they have opportunities. And it's really important to be patient because, for example, story time, One of my biggest artistic influences is Rae Morris, who I think I just mentioned her books, but I've already forgotten what I said 5 minutes ago. So anyway, she was the keynote speaker at IMATS years ago when I was first starting my career, and she talked about assisting and what people need to do if they want to assist her. She lives in Australia, and I'm obsessed with her. And she said that in order for people to assist her, they just need to stalk her. And I took that really to heart. And I met her after her speech and gave her my card, and I told her very calmly, leaning forward, that I would stalk her for the rest of my life. And she didn't call the cops. And we exchanged info, and I emailed her like once a month, once every 2 months for 2 years before she was in the United States at the same time as me and had an opportunity. And then I assisted her for like a week, and I learned more that week than I did in a lot of weeks all put together. She is a uniquely good teacher and a very generous person with her information, which is always very helpful. If you've gotten an assisting job or you're interested in that and you're ready for it, a couple just etiquette things to keep in mind. You're really there to support the artist, not to try to get your own work from the other people on the crew there. You're there to assist the artist and represent them. Depending on the artist, depending on the job, you might just be cleaning brushes, and then some people, especially if you get a rapport going with them, they might actually want you to do makeup. But either way, just don't have an ego about it. Just be there to make their life easier, and that will pay you back a lot in the long run. This is incredibly obvious, but also be early and clean. There are two other ways that you can kind of morph your job opportunities with your education when you're starting out, and those are taking free work. Once you're an established artist, you do not need to take free work unless you really want to, and we should be better collectively as an industry about not taking exposure instead of money, although I think that is happening, which is good. But when you're getting started, working on shitty student films that just give you a kit fee to reimburse your makeup or editorials or whatever is a really valuable experience. And if you're starting out, you're definitely not above that, and you can learn so much from it. So I used to look on like Craigslist and things like that for student films, and it's a good way to get your hands dirty and just practice. And you can meet a lot of cool people that you sort of like come up together. The first makeup job I ever worked professionally was a student film on the weekends while I was in makeup school, and I still am friends with the people that were PAs on that student film and are like a super talented director and producer now. So it can be really fun and definitely good to get your feet wet. I feel like I'm saying a lot of hands dirty, feet wet. Just put things all over your appendages. That is what it means to be an artist. And then the last one, I did not do this, but it's smart, and the reason that I didn't do it is kind of stupid, which is getting a job at a makeup counter. I don't recommend getting a job at a makeup counter and having that education for your artistry be the primary source of education for your artistry. Depending on where you work, what I mean by that is, depending on where you work, like Mac or something like that, you're gonna have some artistic educational opportunities that are really good and helpful, but I wouldn't rely on it solely, because you should branch your technique out more from sort of what's taught in those settings. I'm not dissing that, because I do think it's very helpful, but I would add more to your toolbox than those sorts of styles. But it is a great place to practice your artistry that you're sort of learning from all of these different sources that we've talked about, and again, that'll be kind of in the description box. I've worked with a few people in film that started out at Mac counters and things like that, and it was awesome for them because they were getting paid and had an opportunity to just be like color matching people and practicing their skills, all day long. The reason that I chose not to do that is because I base all my life decisions off of the television show Friends, so I'm obviously someone you should listen to. There is an episode of Friends where Chandler explains that Rachel needs to quit her job at the coffee house so that she can pursue her career in fashion, because as long as she has her job at the coffee house, she doesn't have the fear. And the fear is what you need to motivate yourself to pursue your dreams. And then she asks him why he doesn't quit his job that he hates, and he laughs and he says, because I'm too afraid. And now I'm just quoting Friends to you, which is really what I want this channel to be, but I'll resist the urge. The point is, I kind of do need the fear, and I knew that. I was like, if I get a job, I'm gonna feel too comfy, and I knew I would start to slip on the self-motivating of like, I'm gonna die because I have no money coming in unless I hustle. So I didn't do that. I still kind of stand by it for my own personality, but not everyone is that way. And if you are capable of motivating yourself and also having a job at the same time, power to you. You should write a self-help book. I'll read it. And that's a smart way to practice. Get feet dirty, hands wet, feet dirty. Whatever you want to do. Elbows greasy, legs slick. Anyway, I just wanted to finish this with something that I hope doesn't sound patronizing. I hope this whole video doesn't sound patronizing. When it's like a life advice career type thing, I hope you guys understand this is coming from a place of love and wanting to help you out. So there's just like one thing that I wanted to put out there for you to just pick up off of my little offering plate, which is that I'll start with a nice thing. So a lot of makeup artists get upset if YouTubers, who their whole thing is YouTube, call themselves makeup artists. That does not upset me at all. I think if you are using makeup for art and making money from it, that's fine to call yourself that. I don't love it when people refer to themselves as makeup artists if you don't understand proper sanitation and if you don't have the tools in your kit and within your abilities to do makeup for Black people. Like, just full stop. If you're going to cross that line from being interested in makeup, wanting to be a makeup artist, to saying, I'm a makeup artist and I charge money for this, I think it's really important to know how to properly sanitize your tools and your makeup, and that you can match makeup on anybody that might sit down. It's super important. Unfortunately, it happens a lot, and let's just not do that. Makeup is nice, and we should not cause harm while doing it. So I will now dismount off of my soapbox and just say that if you have questions about any of that, message me and I would be happy to point you in a direction of help. All right, thank you so much for watching. As usual, I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope that it nourished you in all the aspects of your being. If not, I'm so sorry. And if it did and you feel rejuvenated, then, you can always like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at Kiki Makeup. That is pretty much the end of what I have to say. Goodbye.